this is working. Let's try this. Let's go back here just to see if we get to see the map. Looks like we are working live now, so hello everyone. It's been a while since I broadcast anything, been busy with work. Probably will get a little bit more chances to do that with the coming Christmas holidays. I'll be off for a month or so. For tonight though, I just got earlier today the new remastered F-5E Tiger. I wanted to see it for myself. I've seen quite a few videos and some people think it's great, some people think it's not so great, and I guess since I had a few miles lying around with ED, I used some of those and got it, and so it wasn't too expensive for me, and I just figured I'd try it. And yeah, we're going to be flying the skin of Austria, I think is the one I picked. Figured probably there haven't been lots of videos made with that one, but just to give you an idea, this is what the plane's going to look like. I put it in the Combined Task Forces blue so I could show you all the different liveries. I did a previous flight with just a regular gray with you can change the port numbers. They have this one for Norway, which I will probably do missions with in the Kola map. And then the Austrian one I just picked for this mission. You have one from the Swiss forces. Then you have the Desert Aggressor, Blue Aggressor, of course the famous MiG-28. And so that's more or less the choices we have for now. I think there will be probably others made, but you'll see that if you get like really close up on the skin itself, there seems to be like a little bit more detail in terms of like the rivets and panel lines and a little bit of wear as well. We can see like on the wings, for example, these darker areas look like they're worn a little bit, and so there's that. And we don't see it too well in here, but there's like the metal reflections that you would see a little bit like on the wings of the F-16. I guess the F-16 is the other ED model that I would like to compare this one with. Earlier I took a screenshot from underneath like this with the wheels down, and you can see that they've improved the landing gear, and you can see like on the pylons the detail even like very close up. It looks pretty good. So I'd say it compares, let's say, with the F-16 in terms of what it looks like. So it's going to be a cool looking model. So that's one of the things we'll be flying with and looking at. I just equipped it with rockets because we're going to go hit some trucks in the town. It's really not that big a deal for the mission itself. It's more the conditions in which we're going to fly, which will be interesting. Since the F5 doesn't have an INS, I'm going to fly to the Kutaisi airfield, which is on TACAN 44, and then I've put a TACAN close to my target. I've got basically 2 truck columns, and if everything works right, I should be getting smoke on these trucks as I get close. There's a few BTRs, some AAAs around the target area, nothing too serious in terms of threats. And the way I've set up the fog, I think these AAAs at first will be in the fog, and maybe after a little while, if I stay too long, they'll get to see me. So when I tested this mission originally, it was made for F-16s. You can see there are 2 F-16s here, and the F-16 of course flies much faster than the F-5, and I would go to the target. I do a few passes on the targets, and only after a few passes did I see the AAA start firing. And so I think because the F5 is slow, when I get there they might actually be out of the fog. Because one of the cool settings with the new fog is that you can put here, when they say add fog key, that's what I did here. I added another fog setting which will sort of happen between the beginning of the mission and 42 minutes later. And as you can see, the visibility is going to increase and the altitude of the fog is going to drop a little bit. So by the time we get back to base, we'll be able to see a little bit further, and the fog will be a little bit lower in terms of altitude. So there will still be some of it, but it'll be less apparent. And I'm trying the light rain 2 setting here with this mission. It's going to be my first attempt with that. I tested it earlier with an overcast without any rain. So one of the things I did test was an overcast with rain, which basically almost puts rain everywhere. And that one I could see actually, like in the new F5, you can see the rain droplets really well on the canopy. So if we do fly through rain, I would expect that we're going to see these effects. But I didn't want like full out rain because I do have to do a ground attack. So I have to be able to see something. So that's the whole idea there. So hopefully it'll be a good mission and you'll enjoy watching it. So let's go check this out. So this is my briefing that basically explains the navigation, which I mentioned earlier. So you're probably looking forward to just seeing the plane and how it flies. So let's get to it. So we'll choose the F5. And I chose the fall season. So some things that you'll probably notice is as the mission was loading, it does a little bit like some of the other modules that are more recent. The textures in the cockpit looked like they were loading in separate waves. And so now it looks like it's loaded. So let's just click fly. So one of the things you might notice with the fog, in the distance here we can see the tower that's lit up, but we can't see the building. We can see an indication of trees further down, but further than that's kind of hard to see. But around the lights, like if I zoom in here, around the taxi lights, you can see like this halo that appears around some of the lights. And so the lights here on the radio thing looks like they have this red halo around them. Again, I'm not sure if that'll show on the YouTube broadcast, but you can probably see that the cockpit looks pretty good. I'll try to stay still for a few seconds in each area. To show that it is nicely detailed. To me, in terms of what it looks like, it's similar, I would say, to the F-16, maybe F-18 as well, but it is nicely detailed. You can see there is some wear and tear, but it's not too bad. And if we look outside, this is what the plane looks from the outside. I've tried opening those gun doors, whether the plane is on or off. I didn't find a setting for that, so if you know one, you can let me know in the comments. The only thing I've read so far is that maybe if you put AI planes and they park, maybe they will have the doors open, but it's sort of a random thing. And when I was taking screenshots earlier, one of the things I did is I went underneath like this and I looked at the pylons, and you can see when you zoom in really close, it's nicely detailed. The landing gear has a lot of nice detail like this. front landing gear as well. Look at this. That's a lot of detail right there. There's this antenna that some people have said that it might not be functional. I'm not too sure, but anyways, I think that's new. And the lights, they flash. I don't think they flashed before, but maybe that's something I should have checked before updating. And you can still adjust the brightness, like here I can turn them off completely, or I can make them progressively brighter. That's something I think we had before. But that flashing, I think it's like once you reach maximum brightness, it starts flashing like that. That I'm not sure we had before. And on the fin there, we have like a beacon light, this one here, which turns on the red beacon there that we see flashing. Oh, on the other side it flashes. Seems to pulsate there. And on this side, oh yeah, it pulsates as well. I guess it's just the angle. And so yeah, it's got decent detail and everything. Let's go see how it flies. There's the pilot sort of character as well that we could check. Let me just go back to this. It's the 3D model of the pilot. It looks pretty nice. I usually turn that off, but now it's, oh, I guess it's off. Earlier I flew with it, and you could see the legs here and the hands on the stick and on the throttle. So for those who use VR, apparently that's nice to have. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to set up the cockpit and get it ready to go. I'm going to get my radio set up to talk to the tower. That's good. I'm going to preset my TACAN on 44, which is our first destination. That looks like it's good to go. So let's call the tower.
Cavalletti, in field 5, request startup.
And maybe you might notice if we look at the tower that we can actually see the fog is clearing up slowly. We can see the color of the trees, which we couldn't see before. So that's that key that I put in the mission, that 42-minute thing. It's going to get progressively more visible.
Cavalletti, in field 5, request taxi to runway.
And yeah, with the light settings here, earlier I was checking the floodlights. You can see that since it's early morning, we can get the floodlights to be brighter like this, or we can lower them, remove them altogether. Alright, so I'm going to lower the brightness of the reticle just a bit and put my feet on the pedals. And I guess we'll get ready to taxi. Say goodbye to the ground crew fella there. So as I said, the blue lights, you can see like a little halo around them for the taxi lights. I'll try to zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. If I put it in one of those angles, usually it stays with the plane. I'm gonna try to stay on the taxiway here, but gives you an idea of what the plane looks like. Position it like this so I can see where I'm going. So we'll go back to the cockpit. Just want to make sure my speed brakes are in and my flaps are on auto. It's nice to have good visuals, but you also have to fly the thing, so you gotta make sure things are good to go. And speaking of that, let's put the trim ready for takeoff. I think it might already be there. Yeah, somewhere there. We're gonna raise the nose wheel. There we go. Ah. We could have tried to see if the animation looks nice when we raise it. Let's try this. Lower it down. And then we'll raise it and go in the outside view. Yeah, it looks nice. Alright, let's taxi and go take off this thing here, and we have our mirrors that are functional.
Cavalletti, Enfield 5, request takeoff. Enfield 5, Cavalletti, you are clear for takeoff when ready. Climb 300 at QFE 29.86.
One of the things I think I noticed with the patch is that when we asked the tower before, often when we would get on the runway, they would tell us that we didn't have clearance. Now we do have it, and I think we're gonna keep it. It even worked in multiplayer the other day with my friend. So one of the cool things with the cockpit of the F5 now is that it used to be when we looked out front, the HUD and some of the areas around were sort of like they had an opacity to it. There's still a little bit in the HUD, but it's not too bad. And as you can see, when the light hits it, there are still some cracks in the window, but it doesn't look as bad as it used to. You can actually see through it. So let's give it some gas and get it off the ground. Up. For now, I find the afterburner effect looks a bit blurry, but it might be because I was in the fog. Yeah, now it looks a little bit better. I feel like they've improved that a little bit. Let's just turn the nose down just a bit. Again, I'll use the this view here. Try and show off some of that. There you go. And we'll turn the lights off. And we'll go turn the beacon off. We're more or less on our heading, but since the sun is getting up in that direction, we can have a look around and you can see the metallic nature of the skin of the airplane, depending on how you turn it in the light. Reflects it kind of nicely. You can see when I move the wings like that, like at this point here, the top of the wing looks like it's reflecting light a bit more than when in that angle. So looks quite nice. Forgot to turn on my fuel tank, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take care of flying the plane now. We do have a mission to complete. Increase throttle and maybe climb just a little bit. Trying to look at my fuel gauge here. Yeah, it is going up since it's taking the fuel from the center line now that I've turned the external fuel on. I'm just gonna give it a bit of gas and we're gonna climb. And yeah, if you pull on the stick a little bit, you'll see possibly the wing contrails as well as the vapor effects, like that. That's the vapor on top, and on the wing tips you can see the white contrails as I pull. And so that's kind of good. I'm not gonna test if I can rip the wings off, but apparently they've tweaked that a little bit. Some of the people who've tested that said when you pull a lot of G's at 500 knots, you're still going to break the wings, but if you're at 420, you might not be breaking the wings if your plane is light. So those are nice little touches they've worked on. Now, I know there's a lot of debate going on with, hey, there's a mod out there that makes the F5 cockpit look even better than this. Well, okay, maybe, but it's a mod. When you go on servers, you can't often run those mods, and this is actually something that will, I guess, be approved by most servers. And I think, like, when I look at the sun like this, like, yes, I still see some cracks in the window if I zoom in really close, but at this particular like setting like this, I would actually be able to see enemy planes a bit better, I think. In the past, if you just looked in the direction of the sun, you were more or less blinded. But yeah, you have that, which is still somewhat present. I haven't really tested. Oh, you see, now we can see the rain. So we do have rain here. We see the rain going around the cockpit here, and we hear the sounds of it. Because I'm almost at the TACAN, so I'm going to switch TACAN to 6-9er, which is the one for the target. There we go. Now we have a distance to 24 miles to target. And we seem to be slowly coming out of the rain. Oops. to hit this setting here. And as you can see, like the fog, the way I set it, some of the higher altitudes don't have the fog. I'm going to go back to the cockpit so I can use this pointer. You can see here there's fog, but this village there doesn't have fog. These areas are areas of rain, so it's different, it's higher up. But the fog here doesn't go up to certain heights, and my target, I set my target at a height where there won't be fog, so I'll actually be able to see what I need to hit. So that's a little something I did to help myself. Now I'm looking in front, though it looks like it might be rainy. I hope it's not rainy in the target area. We'll see. It's going to be part of the challenge, I suppose. Still have 15 miles to go. So let's arm our rocket pods, guns, this rocket dispenser. One of the things I like the new look is this. It looks a little bit better than the old one. This too. The old one for the emergency Jetson button looked a bit more plastic. This looks almost rubbery. Because I have a caution, so that means that my centerline tank is empty. So what we'll do is, instead of putting it on rockets, we'll put it on centerline. I'm just gonna look outside. Well, there might be somebody's gonna get a tank to fall on their heads. We'll see where that goes. It might fall in the forest. We're good. And we'll rearm the rockets. So it looks like we're getting close. Oh, and we've got a message that we're gonna get smoke on the targets. Yeah, there it is in front. So good. There is stuff shooting in the air, but that's some decorations I've put. It's BTR-80s that are shooting. They changed the color of the tracers on the BTR-80s. They used to look very green, now they look very yellow. And you can see they still have the red tracers as well on the two different calibers. They have different colors. So let me just set this up here to 15, and I have some of the other AAA shooting at me as well. That's because probably the fog is starting to clear up. Yeah, this jet's not quite as fast as the F-16, so I'm gonna line up with one of the roads here, and you can hear the cockpit shake as you pull G's. That's one of the new features of the plane. Reminds me a bit of the F4 when I fly the F4. Okay, so we tested our guns there. Okay, so I'm gonna have to check for the rockets. I wasn't in a very good angle for a rocket attack, so yeah, I forgot to turn these things on. But yeah, just show that this is still functional and pretty much looks standard. I don't know if we see like individual flares pop out of that thing. Yeah, I didn't think so. I know why my rockets weren't working. I forgot to turn this off. Alright, so when you check everything, you get to verify that things are working as intended. So I guess this time I'll be able to shoot some rockets. I'll try the red smoke on that road there that leads in the village. Now I'm starting to have a little bit of rain on the target, so it makes visibility a bit harder, but as you can see the target is out of the fog, so that helps. Okay, now we're out of the rain too, so that also helps quite a bit. So let's see what we can do with that. Alright, that looks good. Looks like we've emptied the outer pods. So again, we can do one of these. And you can see them fall down. So we'll try not to forget to turn the jettison switch off before we do our next rocket attack. When I flew the mission with my wingman, when we were flying it in F-16s, one of the things I did, because the F-16s also had rockets, I went for the tracers of the BTRs, tried to find one as it was firing, like this one right there. And then you see where it is when it fires. There's a civilian truck on the road, so I'll wait for the truck to go by, and I'll try to hit that one. I don't know if I hit past it. Yeah, I think I went past it. And we're back in the rain. Yeah, he's still shooting, so I missed. And again, I'm pulling G's so we can hear it shake a bit. I don't know if you saw what I did there. There was a truck a little bit off the road. I tried to fire at that. Yeah, the fog is starting to dissipate a little bit in the distance. Oh, get to see my vapor effect when I pull G's there, yeah. Gonna try the BTR again with what I've got left of rockets, and then we'll head home. I think I got him this time. Yeah, he's on fire. I'll go empty the rockets near the truck positions that remain, and that's gonna be all. It's interesting with the rain though. You get in and out of the rain, and it's kind of harder to spot targets. You can see these AAAs. These are the S60 guns. So we'll try to lose them in the rain, and I'm gonna switch to 6. Oops. I hate when that happens. I'm like on the wrong button to. That's what I wanted to do. Kind of complicated, but there we go. So now we'll have our arrow pointing in the right direction for Cobuletti. Problem is I don't want to crash as I'm trying to climb. Actually going down at this time, so we're going to climb back up. And now we're in the right direction. So here to fly I'm using my artificial horizon because around me I can't see anything. So hopefully I'll get out of that soup soon. Let's give it just a tad of afterburner. Climb a bit faster. There we go. Now we're above the cloud layer, which allows us to see some of the reflections in the cockpit. Alright, enough fuel burning now. So I'm gonna try to turn with the sun and everything so that we can see a bit better some of those reflections in the cockpit. On the dials, the glass. I'm veering off like 90 degrees from where I'm supposed to go, but I guess you were able to see that on this side here we can see it there when I move the wings like that, the reflections of the clouds and the light hitting that area. It's a little bit like a mirror effect. For a moment there my throttle was having a bit of a hard time getting it to higher than 90%, so that's why I was playing with the throttle settings. So yeah, maybe we could have a little look outside. Some of those textures. How they reflect the light. See the Sidewinder making its shade on the body of the aircraft. We're still heading more or less in the right direction. It seems like we are. Oh, and we can see a contrail there. That's probably one of the refuelers I've put in the mission. There are other aircraft. There's an AWACS and its escorts. There's a C-130 refueler, and that's probably the guy that we could see above us. Alright, 29 miles. How are we doing on fuel? Yeah, I think we'll make it home. If I do that, it comes back to the middle, so that means we're pretty much balanced on the fuel tanks. Still climbing just to save fuel, and we can admire the moon right there. And that refueling flying by. Now that's one thing I would have liked to see, is some of the export versions of the F5 had like refueling probes on the side. That would have been fun to refuel an F5. Because if we look at the F10 map, this in most planes is not a very long flight. It's like a 60-mile flight. But when we get home, we're going to be fairly low on fuel, and we had brought a an extra fuel tank. So having the ability to do some mid-air refueling with this plane would be just awesome. But I guess they're modeling an F-5E and not a CF-5A or something like that. Haven't checked the radar, so now we can turn it on. And could have been fun to check if we could spot the refueler when it was close by. Is he turning? Yeah, he's turning. I'm not so great with the radar on the F5, so. We'll leave it on to see if when we get closer to the ground, if we get some ground clutter or things of the sort. So for now, we'll try to head back in the right direction. We're about 14 miles from base. I'm gonna reduce the throttle, and I guess I can see the airfield right there. So we're still on 262. In my previous attempt, I had switched to the AWACS to call them, but there was nothing, so.
Couple 80, infield 5, inbound. Infield 5, couple 80, flying heading to 41.19, QSE 29.86, runway 07, altitude.
And they want us to use 07 as the runway, so we'll go towards the sea there, and we're going to turn back and come for the runway afterwards. To show off a few reflections and the vapor over the wings like this. Of course, the detail I think for the air brakes is a little bit better too. If I go underneath and we deploy the air brakes, be able to see that the actuators look fairly detailed as well. So I think we'll turn to left base. We might have a little bit of rain as we approach. It's gonna make it interesting. Could have set my course for 070. Something like that. Yeah, we're in the rain now. left because we're getting on the heading for the runway. There we go. Slow down a little further. So now the difficulty is we have rain and we might still have a little bit of fog. Give it a little bit of air brake. Get the gears down. Okay, I'm a little bit to the left of the runway, so I'll have to bring it in. Let's put our feet on the pedals so we can use these rudders. It's not going to be my prettiest landing, but hey, we're having fun here. Yes. Let's not hit the fence and destroy the plane. And the cool thing about the plane is it's got a drag chute. So even if we land a little bit long, it's not the end of the world. Thank you. You can see the skin on the plane reflecting the sun's light, and as you can see, my fog has dissipated quite a bit compared to when we were taking off. There's still some. You can see, like in the distance there, that there is some lower visibility, but this whole airfield area is much more visible than it was at first. So we're gonna taxi to our parking spot, and I guess we'll call this a successful flight. Maybe we can go park next to that big radar and little extra buildings I've added to my base here. Are some military fortifications. So that looks good, and I'm gonna tell the ground crew to put the wheel chocks.
Chief, place the wheel chocks. Copy. Wheel chocks are now in place.
We've got our Wheel checks. Just realized I hadn't jettisoned my empty rocket pods on the inside there. But yeah, nice effect with the fog, as you can see there and behind us. I could actually make a pretty decent screenshot. Oh, look, some F-15s there. I guess these are the escorts of the AWAC. They just came back here. If I position this like that, yeah, that would make a pretty decent screenshot right there. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the flight and enjoyed the little details that we can see there on the plane. Got the lights and everything that I could turn back on. I don't know if you can see, but when I turn on the formation lights, you can see on the ground there's like reflections. Here there's red, and on the other side you see the green. Let's try that again. You can see some of the green, but when I do that, the wingtip has more green on the ground, so it looks pretty good. I think they did a fine job. When we move from left to right like that, you can see how the light hits the fuselage. It's kind of nice. Another screenshot. There you go. So I hope you enjoyed my flight, and that's going to be it for now. So let's just shut it down. A little lazy shutdown like I often do. And that will be it for this flight. Maybe we could go check our targets, see what we did there. Let's do that for fun. We'll go here on the map, see what we have left. There's this one that wasn't hit, so let's use F7 to look at him. So those two trucks at the front were not hit, but the ones in the back here were destroyed. This other column here looks like it was completely destroyed. And at the far end of the village here, I got one of the BTRs. The other ones might still be firing over here. I don't know if they'll continue to fire or if they ran out of ammo. In any case, my targets were the trucks. I think we can say I was fairly successful. I could have had two more, but I think this will be a significant damage to the enemy. Yeah, you can see when I zoom out the rain, which seems to coincide with what we could see. And from higher up in altitude, you can see it's actually snow. And then when you move down, it's more like rain. And then when you get closer to the target, there's no rain here. So that's why I was actually able to aim at the trucks and not at some gray stuff. So hope you enjoyed.